Hey everybody, how's it? Aloha. Well, I told you I was going to do a run of bands I've never heard of or reacted to any of their music. And as you guys are seeing that I'm kind of doing this thing where I'll do a stretch of new bands and I'll cycle back into ones that I've done the first time and learn a little more and go into them for a second time and dive a little deeper, which is making this really fun. And since I have a lot of time to do it, the rest of my life, I'm doing it. So tonight, it's tonight. Katatonia Lethean, okay? If I said it wrong, be gentle. I expect your comments. I want to thank all of you for all of your comments. I want to thank all of you for hanging out. This is just so fun. I'm just having a really good time, you know. For a lot of us around the world, the universal anxieties of what's going on, music is the go-to. And for me, being able to do this and shed a little light on some music and the music that you love and are big fans of, I am extremely grateful that I get to do this on the YouTube. That being said, I want to thank you guys who have bought me a cup of coffee. That really means a lot to me. There's great comments you guys have left with that, as well as you know that my channel's not monetized, and it also helps me with the stuff that I do for the kids. And finally, I'm going to have the links for their discography and their Spotify and everything below, links for the headset, links for the cup of coffee. But one last thing I want to mention really quick. I have a lot of people that say, hey, do this, and they haven't looked through my channel now that I've got all these videos that I've probably done it. So if you go to my main page of my YouTube channel, you look for the little magnifying glass, and just type in your favorite band there. If I haven't done it, then I haven't done it. But if I have, you might find one or two fun little videos on your favorite band. All right, so here we go. Katatonia Lethean. All right. This time you won't be needing me. To run along the freeway, to wait when the spark against the oncoming dark left me with the pills. We had plans, but you couldn't make it through the trees. What took you so long behind glass? What took you so long? Wow, this is really super. They really play around with the rhythmical arrangements and composition. First of all, they hit you right at the top. They come in fully loaded with the main riff. And then they set you up by muting that riff into the first verse. And the lead singer has this haunting, beautiful voice. And at the very beginning, once again, the riff that they started with that was all in power, they rolled back on, and it seems to be repeating itself but muted. So they start you off with that riff, they keep it going through the first verse. They roll back on it, the lead singer comes in and starts doing his thing. First of all, beautiful harmony at the very beginning of the first verse. Something else that he does that is so trick here, they've already established a very unique rhythmic pattern, with their, the drums, the bass, the guitar, And he doesn't come in. You expect him to come in at the one. Musicians, you all know what I'm talking about, producers, etc. If you're not a musician, you've heard me talk about this before in the past. That one is that visceral point where you think something's going to start. For those of us who are just listeners, which I can no longer be forever and ever, but you start to get a sense of when a song is going to start or a lyric's going to start. Well, when this was that sense of the lyric or the melody was going to start here, he actually doesn't start until the fourth beat, it feels like, of that measure where you feel he's going to come in. And then the intervals that he's singing and the rhythmic pattern that he's singing those intervals in also expand that rhythmic arrangement from where there's the riff, the roll down on the riff, the drums, and the bass. The bass and the drums, oh my gosh. The bass player locking so tight with the kick, especially when they get past that beautiful passage where it kind of opens up and the keyboardist is holding down some very nice long notes. I'd have to roll back and see if they didn't sound like pads, but they sounded like some notes that had long tails to them. But when they get back into, and then that's a beautiful little pre-chorus setup. When they get into that chorus, listen to the bass and the kick. They have their own world that they're living in their own arrangement outside of what's going on with the guitar playing. So the guitar playing in the hook, from what I heard, isn't that riff that was opened up. It's a little more power chordy with a couple other rhythmical expressions in it. But this time, the kick and the drums, boom, dun, 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 dun. I think that's how I kind of remember it. And then the second half of that, the hook gets a little more energized and stuff, and then you can hear where the kicks are going into sixteenths and stuff, and the bass player is following it, and also taking some of his own creative liberties, to move around in their own little arrangement orb, if you would. And again, the vocalist, just absolutely beautiful voice, and the harmonies. You can overdo it with the harmonies, but if you choose the right single note to harmonize with, you can really. There are things called modes in scales, which I don't get theoretical in my stuff here because I like to keep it simple. But you can kind of step through this mode here that he's going in by having these intervals in his harmony that is really super trick, and it's really, really super cool. Okay, I blah, blah, blah too much. Let's go back and pick it up and run.
Venom's rush inside your heart. How long can winter color your every word? And the skyline past the houses and the cities, hyperopium, carmine red.
Okay, I know everybody's going to say, you stop, we're not going to blow up in the solo. And I know, but this is just, I'm doing what I'm doing here. That nice little change. Well, first of all, I got a really good chance to listen to the bass tone on this. And it's that cabinet-driven sound. That's what it felt like to me. Was so cool. Listen to the bass during that second verse where they left it a little more wide open than I think the first verse, if I can recall. Remember, I'm a little old. That makes me the decomposer. Sometimes I could be Bobo and I forget. Trying to do this also on the fly and not going back and kind of recall. One of the things, too, that it just feels like the drummer's got a little bit of a shuffle thing going on with the hi-hat as he's playing. It just kind of has a little bit of a vibe with that, the way, excuse me, he's articulating some of his playing. Could be wrong. Most of the time I am. I count on your comments to straighten me out. But the melody, that when it broke down where I thought we were going to go into another pre-chorus before a chorus, because inherently I thought that's where it was going to go, that musical breakdown, that passage there had kind of this, it felt kind of like what's called a Phrygian mode, which gives you this kind of Middle Eastern kind of Celtic-y kind of vibe to it that was so cool and so out of what they had established beforehand. And I thought that was absolutely sick. That was super cool. Okay, now let's go back for the solo. I know most of you guys just went into labor and got all dilated on me, but here we go. Sorry. Wow, nice long fade. I haven't heard one of those in quite a while. The solo, I love the solo. The solo wasn't too much, it wasn't too long. Definitely got the point across. Definitely showed the musicianship and the skill of the guitar player. But what I loved more than anything as well is the fact that engineering-wise, you know how I am about dynamics, coming out of that solo, they did like a hard group mute kind of a vibe. Engineers would know what I'm talking about, is when the keyboardist had his moment of arrangement to kind of bring that whole solo down. Sometimes engineers, what we'll do is when we know we want to focus on something, we hit something that's called a hard mute in grouping. So we group things and then just hit mute, and it cuts everything out except what we want, and it also cuts out the returns of the reverb. Engineering technical stuff there. But it gives you that opportunity to be going, "Wah!" Man, that doesn't sound like that, but I think you kind of get what I get. And then now coming out, as they finally just got yourself into a really nice little cycle to cycle yourself off into that long fade. And I love long fades. And they also did some really cool, a couple more rhythmical turnarounds that I found extremely, extremely interesting. And I never know what to expect when I'm for the first time listening to these bands. And I had mentioned this once before. I forget which video it was. That I'm just so thrilled that this genre that I am wading in, for the last couple of months, and that's just what I feel in here. It's my passion. Is the one that gives you the opportunity as a composer, as an arranger, as a musician, as an engineer, as a songwriter, to be so diversified in your in your composition, and in your layers and stuff. You could take a lot of chances with just the pop music thing. I mean, they play around with it every now and then, and all the other genres, they get sometimes close to it once in a while. Almost sounds kind of gimmicky, but in this prog rock metal, ambient metal, theater metal, and everything that I've been checking out, it's just I just am so excited as a composer, since I've been locked in my bubble as a media composer, that out there in the real world of music and songs, to entertain people, fan base, and everything. That there's this deep of chance taking in writing and stuff, and so I'm stoked to be a part of that at this end, bringing it around and just breaking it down however I break it down. Anyhow, thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. I've got a couple more new bands that I haven't checked out with new songs to see on the browser, and then I'm going to cycle back into Carnival and Opeth and blah blah blah. So thanks for hanging out. If you're still here, type in "I'm still here" on the comment, and like I always say, all right.